Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/libsyn.
Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. Quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Whether you're craving that coffee taste to kickstart your morning ritual, or as a nutrient-packed reward to round out your afternoon, Kachava keeps you fueled and satisfied wherever your day takes you. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. And for the times you feel like switching it up, you've got 7 flavors to choose from, all with the highest quality ingredients. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to Kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word SHOW to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word SHOW, SHOW, to 33777. Text SHOW to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. Happy to have you. Before I pivot into my next topic, because it's relevant to what I was just saying, before we move on, I want to go on and get Chris's phone call on here. Chris, welcome to the Eric Erickson Show.
Hey, how you doing, Eric?
Great. What's going on?
Oh, man, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the people claiming Rory McIlroy cheated, had an unfair advantage, blah, 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 blah. They jump to conclusions. They don't look and see that every player had the same opportunity. And if you won the Masters, you can play the course whenever the hell you want to. Sorry. Excuse my language.
No, you're right.
But, you know, it's like they just want to make a victim out of somebody. I mean, they thrive on it. Like, they can't help themselves. Everything that happens in life, someone's got to be a victim. Someone's got to be the villain. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And I think social media brings a lot out of it. But it really is. There's this undercurrent of socialism in it because not everyone else could do what he did. He, therefore, had some sort of unfair advantage. That's what the socialists say.
And who cares?
Yeah.
Like, why are they so worried about it? He's a golfer. Like, how does it affect their life whatsoever? But
Yes.
they got to, they got to stick their nose in everything.
Yes. Look, I completely agree with you. It's one of the most ridiculous conversations. But I mean, the other thing, Chris, here is I don't think that these people, in fact, I engaged with one of them last night privately. I said, you do understand that with the exception of, I think, 5 of them, every single one of them has a private jet carrier sponsor who would gladly fly them to Augusta to play as much as they want. He had no idea. I was like, that's what the little NetJets lapel on the NetJets name on the collar stands for. NetJets is their sponsor. I want a collar that has NetJets on it and the ability to fly on NetJets. I'm not complaining. I still do Delta. They don't give me a shirt either. But yeah, listen, I'm glad it's not just me. Go ahead.
I can't stand social media. I can't stand computers. I can't stand technology. I can't stand it all. Like, technology is going to be the end of the human race in the very distant future.
Wow, you sound like my 17-year-old.
You got to read a book called Origin by Dan Brown.
Yeah. Listen, Chris, I appreciate the call and the sentiment there. Yeah, y'all, it really is like we're having creeping socialism even into sports. Well, because he gave up a prize purse at another tournament that someone else couldn't afford to risk giving up, he must be. It's so dumb. But in then a lot of places, a lot of cases, these guys are getting people replying to them on social media and on monetized accounts. They're making money by being engagement trolls with this sort of stuff. I mean, literally, if you watch one of these players, so many of them, Wheels Up is one of the major characters. I did not get invited to any of the Wheels Up parties when I was in Augusta. Nor NetJets. NetJets didn't spam me, though. NetJets sends me wonderful email solicitations. I just can't afford NetJets yet. It's a goal. But Wheels Up, NetJets, VistaJet, FlexJet, Magellan Jet, Thrive Aviation. Yes, I know them all because I've looked at all of them. One day, Erickson, you're going to win the lottery and be able to fly private, or the revenue is going to come up here. I've examined them all. NetJets is the most common sports endorser, I think, within the PGA. And literally, if you've ever watched the Netflix series Full Swing, you will see a number of the players getting on NetJets, not just to go to tournaments, but also go to places where they're going to play to be able to get in a practice round. And in some cases they pay, but in many cases, as part of the sponsorship, the sponsor flies them there so that they can get their practice in, because it's a boost to the company when they're flying around the Masters winner. Do you really think – now, Scotty Scheffler's in a unique case because Scotty Scheffler's wife just had a baby, so he's been home a lot. Hasn't been traveling a lot. But do you really think Scotty Scheffler's a NetJets guy? Do you really think if Scotty Scheffler called NetJets and said, hey, I need to get to Augusta to put in some practice time, NetJets would say, no, of course not. They would say, come on, our pilot would love to get your autograph if you're okay with it, and let it go. By the way, NetJets, I need to get my radio practice in, and I'm sure if you want to fly me to a local affiliate, I would not object. One day, people, one day. Now, I'm going to move on from this because I have other stuff I want to talk about. We need to talk about the nature of coalition politics. In light of the president's Red Cross tweet, I have to tell you, I have a number of friends of mine who are big fans of The Chosen. I didn't realize it was a medical documentary. The president claims that he thought he was putting a picture up of him as a Red Cross worker. I need to just lay this on the line for you. I genuinely think that if you believe the president believed it showed him as a Red Cross worker, that you are dumb. I need you to know, I don't mean to offend you, but if you really believe the president believed that it depicted him as a Red Cross worker, you're kind of dumb. If the president believed that depicted him as a Red Cross worker, that's actually a pretty damning indictment on his knowledge base, even of cultural Christianity. Do you know if you put into Google images, pictures of Jesus, a lot of them come up with Jesus with that red shawl like Trump was wearing. And if you put Jesus in red shawl, they all come up looking just like Donald Trump was depicted in that AI video. It's a pretty common representation of Jesus. Some of the most famous portraits of Jesus have Jesus in that red shawl. And for Donald Trump to say, oh, I thought it was a Red Cross worker, when have Red Cross workers ever worn red shawls like that? Come on, people. You don't have to be an idiot unless you want to be an idiot. And a lot of you want to be idiots here. The problem is a lot of others don't want to be idiots, and you're not willing to give them a pass for not being the idiots like you're willing to be, and you're very upset that they're annoyed with the thing. Listen, I can't help it if you want to be an idiot, but I appreciate the people who aren't willing to succumb with this nonsense and say, oh, really? Oh, he didn't know any better. You know what's so bad about it is that J.D. Vance said completely opposite the president. Again, let me set the stage for you. This yesterday is the president of the United States explaining why he put up the picture of him as Jesus.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there.
That's the president. That's the president. I did post it. By the way, there were people saying, oh, he's not the one who posted it. I got that from a lot of people yesterday after my morning piece. By the way, if you text Eric to 33777, you can get my morning pieces. Click the first link. I put yesterday that he posted this. Oh, he didn't really post it. It's the excuses of it's never him. It's someone else posted this. Here he comes. I posted it, and I thought I was a doctor. I thought I was a Red Cross worker. That was Donald Trump yesterday. He thought it depicted him as a Red Cross worker. This is J.D. Vance late yesterday.
Well, first of all, Brett, I think the president was posting a joke, and of course he took it down because he recognized that a lot of people weren't understanding his humor in that case. I think the president of the United States likes to mix it up on social media, and I actually think that's one of the good things about this president is that he's not filtered. He doesn't send everything through a communications professional. He actually reaches out directly to the people. You know, when it comes to the disagreements with the Vatican, look, we're going to have disagreements, Brett, from time to time. I think it's a good thing, actually.
So wait, was it the president posted it and thought it was him as a Red Cross doctor, or does it the president posted it and it was meant as a joke and people didn't get the joke? Which one did they not? Did J.D. Vance not hear the president? That actually makes it worse that they've got mixed stories on what happened. So here's the point of all of this, and I don't mean to rub your noses in it. But you got a coalition of people, and you need them to turn out in November. And the president's base, this is the galling part for me, is the hardcore base for the president gets mad at you when you say, I'm not going to go vote this November. I'm tired of this. I don't want to give it my support. I think he needs some accountability. I'm getting this on my morning piece this morning where I just can't believe there would be people who would say, I'm not going to go vote in November because of a stupid tweet. But here's the thing. The hardest core of the president's supporters, they're not going to go vote either this November because he's not on the ballot. So a lot of the people who will not go vote this November because the president is not personally on the ballot are mad at the rest of you for not going to vote over a mean tweet. This is the nature of a coalition. You got to keep it all together. The president's core supporters need to go vote this November. The people who don't particularly care for the president's actions, but they like his policies, they got to go vote if they want to preserve the policies. But as the president alienates more and more people on social media, more and more of those people are like, look, he's not into winning. Why should I be into winning? He's making it more difficult for us to win. Why do I need to do the heavy lifting? That is the problem with the Post. Riley Gaines is one of the president's supporters. Many of you are familiar with Riley Gaines. She's been on this program before. She's the athlete swimmer who turned activist against transgenderism. And yesterday she said in a post that she thought what the president did was blasphemy. She supports the president. She likes his policies. This was wrong. He needed to delete it. He deleted it and then was asked about Riley Gaines last night. He says, I don't like Riley Gaines. I don't listen to Riley Gaines. I don't much care for Riley Gaines. He didn't need to attack her any more than he needed to attack the Pope. Riley Gaines is a supporter. She reiterated this morning, I disagree with the president on this, but I like the president's policies. I like what he's doing. And now he's attacking her personally because she said he did something wrong. The president has more than once attacked me. And then he calls later and is somewhat humorous about it, even as you disagree. But the president has gotten into a point where so many of his core supporters tell him attack, 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 attack. That's what he does. He attacks everything. And you create a permission loop of doom by encouraging the president to do this instead of holding him accountable. And so then you get to November and you got, well, this is just it. He can't teach an old dog new tricks. He's not going to change his ways. The president of the United States has no incentive to change his behaviors when the people around him and his core supporters keep making excuses for him. There's no reason to change your behavior when everyone around you says, well, he's never going to change his behavior. There's no point in trying. So they don't even try to get him to change his behavior. It's asinine to watch so many people become so committed to the idea that the president will not and cannot change when the president has shown his capacity in the past to change his behaviors to win. So now the question is, as we get to November, do you want to keep alienating people on the right and the center who may not care for the president, but they certainly hate the Democrats and they do like the president's policies? Or do you want to try to get those people to turn out? If you want to get those people to turn out, you got to deploy different tactics than yelling at them for being able to say this wasn't a good tweet. This was blasphemy, because it was definitionally blasphemy. It's wild wild, wild, wild to see the dichotomy of people. And I think actually for those of you in the press and the Democrats, it's more telling to me that more of the president's base was divided over this depiction of him as Christ than over Iran. The media has obsessed with the president's statements about Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones. And the media doesn't understand this stuff. The media fixates on that because they think that's the warning sign of a crack up of MAGA. They're not a crack up of MAGA. They've always been opportunists. They've aligned with President Trump to advance themselves, and now they think they can advance themselves without him, so they're breaking from him. The hardcore base of the president has stood with him on Iran. The issue is the hardcore base of the president has shown fractures over his religious blasphemy. That the president of the United States putting up a picture of him as Christ to a lot of his supporters was not good. And that has done more damage with him and his base than the Iran situation. But the media has missed that story because the media itself doesn't understand that story, because the media doesn't relate to the people who actually are the president's base. They relate to the grifter class and Podcastistan that have aligned themselves with the president only to opportunistically break from them, just as the media has now opportunistically broken from Eric Swalwell. I have a very nice email from a vice president at NetJets listing on WHIO in Ohio and tells me, when I'm there financially, they're happy to fly me. Well played, sir. Well played. Oh, mercy. Okay, let me take Greg's phone call real quick. Greg, welcome to the show. How are you?
Eric, I'm great. I'm with you on NetJets. I had received emails from them for years, and you're closer than I am. But yeah, one day,
if that lottery ticket comes in.
That's right. You know, I got to thinking after reading your commentary this morning, I don't think Trump is going to go into the presidential blackout like all the others have when he's gone, when he's done in office. And he will continue to throw rocks from social media. And at that point, the backlash is going to be astounding because he won't have power over anyone anymore. He can't really hurt them or harm them. They won't have to work with him to get legislation passed. So the core MAGA base will shrink to this real small amount, but everybody else is going to be like, hey, guess what? You're an a-hole. You're a jerk. And you have been for years, and you need to stop. I just think people will come out and, I mean, he bashes people. Why bash Riley Gaines? Why bash the prime minister of Italy, who's been a core supporter of yours? He's really harming himself. And I got a lot of friends right now who are like, why should I go vote in November?
So, Greg, I'm glad you're calling in and saying this. That is part of the problem. At some point, you can't just attack everybody. And at some point, the president does become expendable to his base because he no longer has any power. He's term limited. And the president does need to be mindful for his future on this. I mean, he wants to build this beautiful library down in Miami as a skyscraper. He's going to need people to cough up the money for it. If he burns all of his bridges on his way out the door with a lot of people, he's going to have problems. But he's still there for 2.5 years, and he's got to accommodate criticism from his base in some way on this, because ultimately it was his screw up, and fewer and fewer people are willing to give him a pass on that. Now, I want you to go, not take a pass, but go to incogni.com, INCOGNI, INCOGNI, incogni.com/Eric, ERICK. Now, what is Incogni? Incogni is a company whose sole mission in life is to get you more private on the internet. There are data brokers out there that will sell your information to criminals. They will sell your information to insurance companies. They will sell your information to credit card solicitation companies, to spammers and scammers. They'll even sell, if they can get their hands on it, your prescription drugs, which is sometimes made available depending on who you use. It's kind of wild how much your information is for sale. And Incogni gets it all off the internet. They send takedown notices. I'm now over 340 different companies have taken my information off the internet thanks to Incogni. Some of them even were able to tie me to the social media accounts of my kids, which was alarming. And that's all gone now thanks to Incogni. You can be more private and more secure and safe from scammers and spammers as well. Go to incogni.com/Eric. You'll save up to 60%. Incogni.com/Eric. My family and I have been protected by Incogni. It's a great way for you to be protected online as well. Incogni.com/Eric. ERICK. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Just some horrific statements coming out of a press conference. This is one of Eric Swalwell's accusers. It's just really, really horrific stuff. I'm not going to play you the full audio, but I will read you this from Rachel Bade. Lana Drews, former model, accuses Eric Swalwell of spiking her drink, taking her back to his hotel room, and sexually assaulting her. She said she only had one glass of wine, but found herself incapacitated. Quote, "I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me and he choked me, and while he was choking me, I lost consciousness," she said, noting that at the time she knew he was married and expecting a child, but had connected with him due to his offer to help her new business. "I did not want to live anymore. I cried all the time for years." Eric Swalwell, when Brett Kavanaugh was accused of assault, said, "You got to believe all the women all the time. You got to believe the women." I don't know what is the reality in this situation, holding him to the standard he held Brett Kavanaugh, though. He should probably be in jail. But this woman coming forward now with this deeply emotional testimony, Swalwell deserves what he's going to get, as the criminal justice system is going to come for Eric Swalwell now. Your sins will find you out. I want to have a heart-to-heart with my listeners for a moment, please. And I will try not to be alienating here or sound self-righteous. That's not really my point. But I got to tell you, I have watched in the last number of years a lot of people I know get extremely wealthy, saying a lot of stuff that they don't really believe, in large part to gain a following among the president's supporters. And I see people now still trying to do a three-card Monty situation where behind the scenes, you hear the stories all the time, people who don't like the president of the United States, but they do a good show of it in person. A number of years ago, Charlie and I were in Washington, D.C. We were filming a potential show. It didn't go over well. It was not incendiary politics. It was conversations in the faith community and things like that. One, it didn't go over well because it wasn't incendiary politics, and two, I was not hardcore MAGA, and that actually weighed on the opportunity to not pick up the show. And I got approached by a member of Congress who had come into Washington, D.C., and walked with him through a grocery store where one of the things he said that I will never forget is he referred to Donald Trump. This is a Republican member of Congress who that very day was on Fox News singing the praises of the president, and behind the scenes referred to him as a quote-unquote evil effing Forrest Gump. The Republican member of Congress referred to the president as that. My piece went viral, picked up a lot of attention. I have promised I would never name that member of Congress who is now no longer there, but went on TV, praised the president, defended the president. I forget what the actual situation was at the time. Defended the president that behind the scenes was walking through a Safeway grocery store in Washington, D.C. on an absolute tirade about what a moron the president was, didn't know anything, blah, 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 blah. I don't care whether you like the president or not. I like a lot of the president's policies. I very much wish we would go back in and finish the job with Iran. I think what he did was good to go after Iran. I think the president's foreign policy is remarkably mature, grown up, and thoughtful. You know, he's come up with a plan to deal with Indonesia as a maritime naval partner to contain the Chinese Southeast Asian threat. It's a great idea. The president has realigned Central and South America towards the United States. He has helped push out regimes and push out China in South America. He has helped prop up Javier Milei in ways that, Milei's economy is going gangbusters now. The people in Argentina are starting to feel the positive impacts of Milei's policies. And remember, a group of economists said Milei would be a destructive threat, just like they said it about Donald Trump. Milei would be a destructive threat if he got elected. Milei was elected, and he's actually way more free market than Donald Trump is. In fact, Milei has chastised President Trump for taking government ownership of certain publicly traded companies, but private companies. But we propped up Milei. We've helped Milei. Milei was able to get a big win in midterm elections in Argentina. We have ousted what's his name in Venezuela, who is now in a prison in New York. We have contained the Colombian socialist president. We are collapsing the Cubans. We're collapsing the Iranians. We're getting Saudi Arabia to make nice with Israel. We're causing stress in the Chinese economy. These are good things. These are very good things. But also, the president on Easter never put up an Easter post. Instead, he dropped an F-bomb and praised Allah. And I said at the time, tongue-in-cheek, I preferred this to turning Easter into Trans Appreciation Day, but I also said he shouldn't have tweeted that. The next day, the president said he was going to eradicate an entire civilization. He didn't want to, but it was probably going to happen. As I said at the time, people misinterpret this. He's not actually going to drop a nuke on Iran. It is him conducting negotiations by social media, but the tweet was also beneath the dignity of the president of the United States to do, to threaten to wipe out a civilization. He shouldn't have done it in that way. The president of the United States should not have put out that picture of him as Jesus. And then to try to claim that it was actually him as a member of the Red Cross. If the president didn't know that was a depiction of Jesus, how out of touch is he with cultural Christianity? And if he did know, he's lying to the public about portraying himself as Christ. Either one is bad. The one is worse. The blasphemy is worse. It's still blasphemy, but from ignorance. But the ignorance is kind of appalling. And I am watching people, good people, people I know, people I have friendships with, just simply beclown themselves to try to defend the president. What was so interesting is a group of pastors yesterday tweeted out, well, the president says he didn't know, and I take him at his word, and I'm glad he deleted the tweet. It was almost word for word identical tweets. Not making that up. Multiple pastors came out, and it was almost word for word, all of them, the exact same tweet. The president should not have tweeted this, but the president said he did not know, assumed it was him being depicted as a member of the Red Cross. I take the president at his word and thank him for deleting the tweet. Really? And it was so clearly coordinated, they just copied and pasted the same tweet. How embarrassing do you have to be? I could have a lot more money right now if I was willing to beclown myself. And, I can say all I want that I sleep well at night, but these people sleep really well on their bags of money. And let's just be honest with it, they're making a lot of money. They're making good money. Look at the conferences some of these people put on, lavish multi-million-dollar affairs. It turns out one of the big complaints of the new guy who took over Hungary, who, by the way, the left thinks he's one of theirs. They're going to be rudely surprised when they find out how conservative he actually is. He's not a populist. He's not a liberal. He's actually a hardcore conservative, particularly a social conservative. He said one of the biggest outrages is to find out that Hungary was actually paying for American right-wing and populist groups to come to Hungary. The tax dollars of the Hungarian people, this guy alleges, subsidized CPAC going to Hungary. And all those guys, the Heritage guys, CPAC guys, they're all upset that Viktor Orban lost. Well, now we know why. The gravy train was rolling. The gravy train is rolling all over the place in Washington, D.C., and I would rather not be able to afford NetJets than to actually wake up in the morning and make a fool out of myself defending dumb tweets by the President of the United States. Now, here's the thing. I have been taken off one large station and been denied access to multiple other stations because I am insufficiently pro-Trump. We actually had a big station I was really excited to be on. Was there for about a year, and the station manager was very explicit that I made him, not the audience, him upset that I wasn't pro-Trump enough. He didn't realize what he was getting and took me off. There are other stations who have refused to put me on because I talk about faith. They really don't like it when you talk about faith on conservative radio. I'm not going to give that stuff up, though. And if that slows my rise, that's fine. But here's the thing. There are so many people in Trump land who in a couple of months are going to have to reinvent their personalities and everything they stand for because he's going away. He's term limited. And being term limited means you're going to go on to the next thing. And when you go on to the next thing, you're going to have to figure out, what do I stand for now? Y'all, you may disagree with me on stuff, but you know exactly where I stand on issues. My show continually comes up in the research as being very unpredictable. You never know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to talk about. But you know where I stand on the issues because my principles aren't nebulous. The nebulosity of so many people who used to be hardcore conservatives, now they're like, what is conservatism? Conservative? I'm a populist now, who in another year or so are going to be with whoever the leader is, as they got to keep the gravy train going. Look at the Podcastistan, Boko Haram and the Podcastistan. They were all for Donald Trump. Well, many of them were opposed to Donald Trump. Remember Tucker Carlson's text messages in the lawsuit against Fox News. Everything Donald Trump touches dies. I'm ready for this guy to go away. He's terrible. And yet publicly he's praising Donald Trump. Because he's hitched his wagon to the Trump gravy train to make money. He's got to publicly praise Donald Trump even as he detests him. Well, now he sees the winds shifting, and Podcastistan is suddenly opposed to Donald Trump bombing Iran, of all things. 76% of Americans, according to CBS News, agree with the president. Iran can't get nuclear weapons, and we should do what we can to stop them. And Podcastistan's like, this president betrayed me. Why? For bombing Iran, something he said he wanted to do for 40 years. It is wild to watch the winds shift as people try to realign their gravy train to a new horse. It's only going to get worse. To the extent I'm patting myself on the back, it's because I don't have to reinvent myself for the new guy. I don't have to become someone I'm not. You'll be able to tune in here 3 years from now when we have a new president, and I'll still have the same principles and conviction even as the headlines have changed. So many of these guys are just going to beclown themselves again because it's all about the gravy train, the almighty dollar. And it is wild to see. I am embarrassed for some of these people who have had to come out in the last 24 hours after calling the president a blasphemer. Say, turns out he thought it was the Red Cross. That's not blasphemy. That's an accident. Golly gee, I'm so sorry I called you a blasphemer, Mr. President. Please, can I come to the next meeting at the White House now? I couldn't care less to be invited to the White House. I don't even want to go to Washington, D.C. I get asked to go to Washington all the time these days. I got to be up there at the end of May for a conference, and I'm already dreading it. I would rather hang out with you guys. All of this is to say the conservative movement and the populist movement on the right, they got some real problems coming. And I'm glad to not be part of the problem, to watch these people beclown themselves and embarrass themselves. And you know what? Here's my position. It's very straightforward. I like a lot of President Trump's policies, but I really detest his antics on social media and his bullying behavior. And there's no reason for me to beclown myself to defend his stupid tweets that he shouldn't be doing when I'm willing to defend the policies. I'm willing to defend the Venezuela situation. I'm willing to defend Cuba. I'm willing to defend the Iran situation. I'm willing to defend much of his economic policies other than tariffs. I'm willing to defend his picks for judges. I'm willing to defend his use of the Justice Department to go after the left and figure out where they're getting their funding from. I'm willing to defend his gutting of federal government and gutting of Washington, D.C., and the outsourcing of Washington into the heartland. I'm willing to defend all of that. But I'm not going to embarrass myself by saying, he didn't know any better. He's a grown man. He's 80 years old. If he doesn't know any better, that's on him. That's not on you and me to apologize for him. Stop embarrassing yourselves. I had a Trump supporter this morning from Atlanta, Georgia, who naturally has an anonymous account with very few followers. Hang on, I got to find you this tweet. I fell out laughing. I was dead stopped in traffic on the connector in Atlanta. I realized I should have been looking at my phone, but we weren't going anywhere. And I looked down to see who had called me and opened my phone and saw this tweet. And I flat out fell out laughing that some anonymous troll in Atlanta, Georgia, actually took the president seriously. Quote, looking at Trump's picture as blasphemy becomes comedy when people try to act righteous, then spill the dribble that they do. Trump was calling attention to the Vatican and to the Red Cross. Only weak minds see it as depicting Jesus. Really? Now, this is clearly a troll from Atlanta, Georgia, with very few followers, who seems obsessed with squirrels, by the way. But also, really? You are the rube and the sucker, my man. You are the rube and the sucker. And I at least prefer to think that my audience, we can agree to disagree at times, but I'm not going to treat you as a sucker or a rube or lie to you or beclown myself to apologize for somebody's bad behavior. What's depressing is how many people, though, are willing to do that on the right these days. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, Republicans have a bigger issue than the president's tweets, and that is that cost of living anxiety has skyrocketed among Americans. The inflation is up, not just because of Iran. Gas prices are up mostly because of Iran. It just happened in the commercial break. Beef prices have hit an all-time high per pound. $2.99 a pound at wholesale is actually $2.50 per pound for the first time. That's an all-time high for live cattle prices, which drives up the price of beef at the grocery store. This is a record high. And that, coupled with the fuel oil price, is going to hamstring the American economy headed into the midterms. Was it the right thing to do to go after Iran? I absolutely, fundamentally, philosophically believe it was the right thing to do. But there are economic fallouts to it, in large part because guess what else is happening right now? The cascading effect from the tariffs that so many of the president's supporters wanted to defend because they thought he was a 4D chess champion and that clearly he knew something. And the tariffs are actually having massive economic spillover effects. And you know, the number one spillover effect is the one that I told you would happen. And many of you told me, you're not an economist. How do you know? Because I know the economy, even though I'm not an economist. Wages have fallen behind inflation, thanks in large part to the tariffs. That's the Republican problem headed into the midterms, in addition to the tweets. Now, you want to clean up the air in your house. You can't clean up the economy, but you can get an Eden Pure Thunderstorm. In fact, you can get 3 of them and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. And if they do not wipe out the odors you need wiped out, they'll give you money back guarantee. The site has the details. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK, the number 3, no space. So it's an air purifier. It gets rid of pollen. It gets rid of dust. It's got no filters required. You can clean it out on occasion, easy to do, and you don't have to get a filter subscription. That's where some of these air purifiers really make their money. And geniusly, it just works. It also gets rid of 99.9% of bacteria and viruses that flow through the device. But then it pumps out ozone, and ozone's like odor bleach, and it wipes out odors. You can't get to where the odors originate. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm can, and it'll wipe out the odors. You get a money-back guarantee if it doesn't. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, EdenPureDeals.com. ERIC3 is the discount code.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience in their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's LIBSYN, ads.com today.